Two brothers, Liam and Aidan, had once been inseparable. As boys, they chased each other through sunlit fields and shared whispered secrets under the covers at night. But as men, a rift grew between them. A misunderstanding turned into an argument, the argument into a bitter feud. Harsh words echoed in their last conversation, words that replayed in Liam's mind countless times after. In the heat of anger and pride, they had stormed away from each other's lives. Years passed in silence. Each brother carried on, but the weight of that unresolved anger hung on Liam's heart like a stone. Liam often told himself he didn't care. When he thought of Aidan, he'd summon back the anger, the sense of betrayal he felt, to mask the pain underneath. He clung to his grievance tightly, as if nursing it could justify the sadness he otherwise might have to feel. The brothers lived in the same city but became strangers. There were moments, late at night, when Liam missed his brother terribly, when he recalled Aidan's booming laugh or the way he would always nudge Liam's shoulder to cheer him up. But then his pride would harden him again. "He hurt me. I'll never forgive him," Liam repeated to himself, like a stubborn mantra. Over time, Liam noticed that the anger he held was seeping into other parts of his life. He grew irritable, less trusting, even with others who had done nothing wrong. It was as if the bitterness inside him had roots that were spreading. Sometimes, his wife would gently ask, "Have you ever thought of talking to Aidan? It might ease your heart." Liam would shake his head and turn away, unwilling to admit how the mere suggestion made his chest tighten. In truth, the thought of reaching out, of being the first to bend, felt impossible, like swallowing shards of glass. His attachment to being right, to feeling wronged, was like a locked box in his heart. He guarded it, not realizing it was also a prison. Then one crisp autumn afternoon, Liam's phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize, but something compelled him to answer. The voice on the other end belonged to a friend of Aidan's. She spoke in a careful, somber tone that made Liam's stomach lurch. Aidan had been in an accident. He was alive but in the hospital, and it was serious. The friend thought Liam might want to know. Liam thanked her, voice strained, and hung up. For a long moment, he stood there in the kitchen, the world around him falling utterly silent. The stone in his heart that he'd carried for so long suddenly felt like it was cracking. Without overthinking, Liam grabbed his coat and keys. His body seemed to move on its own accord, propelled by a deep instinct that bypassed pride and anger. At the hospital, the antiseptic smell and hushed voices made everything painfully real. He found Aidan's room and paused in the doorway. There, on the bed, was his brother, paler and thinner than he remembered, a bandage around his head, arm in a sling. Aidan's eyes were closed, and for a terrifying second Liam thought he might be too late. But then he saw the steady rise and fall of Aidan's chest. Quietly, Liam stepped in and stood at the bedside. Up close, he could see the faint freckles on Aidan's face, the scar on his chin from a childhood fall. Time melted away. This wasn't an estranged stranger. This was his brother, the person he'd once known better than anyone. Overwhelmed, Liam sank into the chair by the bed. "Aidan," he whispered, voice trembling. "I'm here." He wasn't sure if his brother could hear him. There was no response, only the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor. Liam's eyes filled with tears as years of pent-up emotion surged forth. All the anger, the justifications for their silence, suddenly seemed so small and hollow compared to this fragile moment. He gently placed his hand over Aidan's hand, which was bruised and had an IV taped to it. "I'm sorry," Liam choked out, not even entirely sure what he was apologizing for, perhaps for everything. I'm so sorry, brother." As he uttered those words, he felt something shift inside him. It was as if a knot that had been tightly coiled in his chest was loosening. The old anger that had once flared at the thought of Aidan was nowhere to be found. In its place was deep concern and regret, and love that had never really gone away. Hours passed. Liam kept vigil, memories wafting through his mind. The two of them building a fort in the backyard, sneaking cookies from the kitchen, Aidan standing up for him against a bully in middle school, the pride in Aidan's eyes at Liam's college graduation. How had they let one hard chapter erase all those softer ones? Liam realized that in gripping so hard to his resentment, he had lost sight of the larger story of their bond. It was as if he had focused on one dark page and forgotten the rest of the book. As dusk settled, Aidan stirred. His eyes fluttered open, hazy with medication and confusion. He turned his head slowly and saw Liam. For a moment, neither brother spoke, two pairs of the same blue eyes meeting, both brimming with tears. "Liam?" Aidan's voice was weak and raspy. Liam stood, still holding his hand. "I'm here." "I'm right here." Aidan swallowed, a tear sliding down his temple. "You came." Liam nodded, unable to speak. In that singular moment, the years of silence and anger were eclipsed by relief and sorrow and love. Aidan's voice cracked as he whispered, "I'm sorry, Liam." Liam squeezed his brother's hand gently, shaking his head. "No, I'm sorry. I've been so foolish." Aidan's eyes welled up. "I missed you. Every day." A sob escaped Liam's throat. "I missed you too." He realized just how true that was, and how long he had been burying that truth under pride. Liam carefully placed a hand on Aidan's shoulder, and it was as if that simple touch bridged the chasm between them. They talked in fragmented sentences, each interrupting to apologize again, to reassure the other. There was pain in revisiting what had driven them apart: miscommunications, hurt feelings, stubborn stands. But every exchanged word was also a release. With each quiet "I'm sorry" and "it's okay," they began to dismantle the walls that had kept them apart. It wasn't about figuring out who was right or wrong anymore. It was about acknowledging the hurt and deciding that their relationship mattered more than their pride. Later, after Aidan had drifted back to sleep, Liam stepped out into the cold night air outside the hospital. He felt exhausted, but strangely lighter than he had in years. The burden of anger he'd carried had been heavy. In letting it go, he felt as if he could finally breathe freely. He tilted his head up to the sky, noticing the stars, and realized how long it had been since he simply looked at them. In that moment, he made a quiet vow to himself. He would not take this second chance for granted. He would practice letting go of grudges, of the urge to control every outcome, of the past that he could not change. He would hold on instead to what was truly precious, the people he loved and the time he had with them. In the weeks that followed, Aidan recovered steadily. Liam visited him every day. They fell back into their old banter, gentle and cautious at first, then more comfortable and warm. There were moments of awkwardness, moments of sadness for the lost years, but those were outweighed by a mutual commitment to move forward. One sunny afternoon, as Liam helped Aidan take a slow walk down the hospital corridor, Aidan said quietly, "Thank you for letting go of the past." Liam felt tears prick his eyes once more as he replied, "Thank you for giving me the chance. Holding on to all that anger, it only hurt us both." Aidan nodded. They paused by a window where sunlight streamed in, and Liam realized that the light felt like a reflection of what he felt inside a clearing after a long storm. From that point on, Liam approached life differently. He learned to notice when he was clinging too hard to an expectation, to a slight, to anything not serving his peace. Each time, he practiced loosening his grip. He found that when he did, life didn't fall apart as he once feared. Instead, it often blossomed in unexpected ways. Detachment, he discovered, wasn't about not caring. It was about caring deeply for what mattered: love, truth, compassion, while freeing himself from the need to control or hold on to everything else. The brothers became close again. One evening, months later, they visited the field where they'd played as children. Fireflies blinked around them as they sat on an old fence and talked about everything from their favorite childhood memories to their hopes for the future. Liam felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over him. By letting go of anger, he had regained not only his brother, but also a piece of himself that had been lost, the open-hearted young man who knew how to forgive and move on. As they walked back, Aidan put an arm around Liam's shoulder, just like he used to after a game or a long day's work on their childhood farm. "Life's too short for holding grudges, isn't it?" Aidan said softly. Liam nodded. "Far too short." The sky above was vast and star-strewn, and in that vastness, their past grievances seemed so small. Liam learned that detachment letting go was not a one-time thing but a daily practice. Some days it was easy, other days, when old habits tugged at him, it was harder. But each time he managed to release resentment, envy, or fear, he felt like he reclaimed a bit of freedom and joy. He also saw the change in his brother. Aidan too was gentler, more present. They often reminded each other, when minor irritations arose, of the vow they'd made in that hospital room to not let trivial things come between them again. In their story was a lesson that the tight grip of anger and hurt only leads to isolation and sorrow, while the open hand of forgiveness leads to connection and healing. Detachment didn't mean they loved each other any less. It meant they loved each other enough to let the past go. It meant valuing peace over the hollow satisfaction of being right. Liam placed a picture on his mantelpiece of himself and Aidan from their childhood, both of them grinning with gap-toothed smiles. It sat next to a newer photo of them, taken just a week ago, arms around each other at a family gathering. Whenever he looked at those pictures, side by side, Liam was reminded of the journey they had taken back to each other. He was reminded that in releasing his hold on anger, his hands and heart were free to hold something infinitely more worthwhile, the love that had always been there, waiting patiently beneath the pain.